Hey guys, it's Kay with J&Kay, and we're back vlogging again. So we took like a 3-week break. First we went on a family vacation with Jay's family to Disney World, and then we got really sick. So I didn't have a voice, and my face broke out in a rash and stuff for like 2 weeks. So finally we're back. But I did learn something on our trip that I've been wanting to share with you guys. So I was in Starbucks at Disney crying on the last day of our trip, and I want to talk about why. So I learned a lot for this trip with the intent purpose of basically being a tour guide. The way that Disney World is now, you kind of need to prepare if you're going to make the most of your trip. They have these things called fast passes, which are like ride reservations. You can have up to 3 ride reservations at each park that you go to. So we had to decide which parks to go to on which days and what rides to do and where to eat. And I did so much research and planning so it would be a great trip and we'd have like minimal lines, and it really worked out well. And I really enjoyed myself. I had a great time, but I noticed I was really trying to make it a good trip for everyone. I think women can tend to do this. I don't want to be stereotypical, but I feel like a lot of times as women, we are so sensitive to the needs of people around us that sometimes we put our needs last. And I kind of knew I was doing this and I kind of didn't. I know myself well enough to know that I need journal time. And so Jay and I actually woke up at 5 a.m. every day. So we'd make sure we got our journal time in, our Bible study, preparation for the day, working on our business every day, so we could leave at 7:30 and go to the parks for like the rest of the day. But even getting that amount of journaling time in, I wasn't giving myself as much time as I needed to sync with myself. So on the last day of the trip, we weren't going to any parks. It was kind of a free day, and Jay's mom was watching Emma so we could have a date. And I was just so snippy. Like, I kept feeling like, Jay, you're so tired. Can't you be more engaged? Come on, let's enjoy the last day of our trip. And it was okay for him to be tired. But I kind of overreacted to his tiredness because I was trying to push myself. And also I wasn't in sync with myself. He had taken time the night before to journal. And I think I actually knew that and was kind of jealous of that. But I also didn't want to take that time. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. I heard a quote the other day. It goes along the lines of, all addiction is based in fear of emptiness. It could also be termed fear of silence, fear of being alone with yourself, and fear of not being productive or doing anything, fear of not mattering, not feeling, or it could be trying not to feel pain. Trying not to feel the pain of that emptiness or of a situation that brings emptiness. Maybe there was a death in your life or something like that, and you're trying to distract yourself with all these other things. Addiction to TV, addiction to technology, to social media, to drugs, to alcohol, to whatever it is. It's usually a distraction because we're trying to avoid basically being alone with ourselves and being honest with ourselves. So I learned that was what I was doing in this Starbucks at Disney Springs. We were sitting and talking, and I was kind of miffed at Jay, but I was miffed with myself, and I didn't really understand what was going on. And I had done so much preparation for like 8 months for this trip. This was like my hobby for 8 months. And all of a sudden it was over. And I was like, where am I in life now? What am I doing? What am I living for? What's the thing that's going to take my free time when I get like 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there? Who am I again? And how do I feel about how it went? And did I enjoy it, or was I so busy helping everybody else enjoy it that I don't even know how I felt? And all of a sudden I just started crying. And I was okay with that. I guess I'm just kind of used to dealing with my own emotions to a certain extent, that I'm okay with crying in public. Didn't know that till this trip. But I was like, if that's what I gotta do, that's what I gotta do. These are all strangers I'm never gonna see again. And my back was to most of them, so that helped. But I was like, yeah, actually, we were like at the bar, and I was like, I can't be here. Like, we needed to move to a table. So I'm not quite as brave as I could be. But we did move to the side so we could be a little bit more private. And I journaled and I wrote out how I was feeling. What's the next step in my life? Processed things and put them behind me. Looked forward and did some projected journaling for the future. And even though I was avoiding being with myself, I was avoiding figuring out how I felt, because I guess honestly, it felt like so much work. It felt like it was hard and scary. But when I actually did it, I realized the thing I was fearing was fear itself, which so often is true. I was afraid that I would find something there I didn't like. But really, the only thing that I didn't like was the way I was treating Jay based on this fear, the way I was treating myself based on this fear. The fear itself was the thing, the distraction, the avoidance of figuring out how I was feeling was the issue. I didn't uncover any issues. I uncovered myself. I rediscovered myself. So the first thing I can leave you guys with is don't be afraid to rediscover yourself. Chase down those fears. Figure out, what am I afraid of? And go after them, because you're probably avoiding something that you don't need to avoid, and you need to remove that fear more than anything else. And that comes by facing it head on. The second thing is actually for your partners or spouses. So Jay was very patient with me, and he encouraged me to journal. He let me journal, and then I had him read my journal, and then we talked about it. And he's great with being like, let's just do that on our day off. Like, let's just have some self-healing so that we're ready to move back into regular life in a healthy way. And I really appreciate that about him. But I noticed this. A lot of times women deplete themselves so that they're like emotionally in the negative, whereas guys, I don't know if this is all guys, but at least the guys I've noticed, they kind of tend to take care of themselves more. Like if Jay is getting to his like emotional, I can't take this anymore, or I need to be by myself, or I just need some downtime, he'll just take it. And I'll be like, the kids need help. There's a party going on. I need to help these other people. Somebody else is crying. Everybody else's needs are more important than mine. And I guess maybe it's part of women's brains just being more relational and the two hemispheres being more connected or something like that. But it's not healthy. But it's important to understand that about each other. So Jay will be like, why did you let yourself get in the negative? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm here now. What do I do? And he'll be like, you got me at 1%. Like, I've got 1% strength left, and now you're asking me to give more? I need to recharge. And I'm like, I'm at like negative 15. I really need to recharge. And meanwhile, like, Emma is starving and like an hour late for bed and going crazy because she's exhausted, and it's like, who's going to deal with the baby? So I think there are two things that I've, two ways of approaching this situation. Number one, prevention. And number two, what do we do when we're in that situation? So first of all, men, the women in your lives, just be really sensitive to their need for self-care. Really feel out, even if like you're starting to feel like you're getting depleted, think about, if I'm getting depleted, maybe she's even more depleted, especially if you're, on a vacation or things are out of the ordinary, you're going through something different together. Think, she probably needs some time for self-care. Before she gets in the negative and kind of ruins my life, what's in my best interest and hers is to give her some time for self-care. Let me take the kids to the playground and she can have some time for herself, as scary as it might be, and she can face those fears, and then she can fill up, and then you'll have your time to fill up, and she won't be as needy when you're already super depleted. So that's prevention, which is a little bit easier actually to deal with than when you're actually in that situation. When you're in that situation, communication is the key. Women, be honest. Don't try to be superheroes. This is what I always do. I don't know if that's what you always do, but it's like I have to defend the fact that I was helping everybody else. Like, no, I was doing the right thing. I mean, I'm so self-sacrificial. I should be getting praised for this self-sacrifice. But be honest, be like, yes, I know. I should have put my own oxygen mask on first. I should have taken care of myself. There's no blame. There's no guilt. There's no shame. But hey, I need self-care pretty desperately. And could you please just take the kids for a little while? Like, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. It's so hard for me to just be honest and be like, I need help. I'm vulnerable. I don't know. I guess I don't want to be the little woman so much that I'm like, no, I'm Superwoman. But it's like, just be yourself. You don't have to overcome all the stereotypes in the world. Just be real. And then husbands or partners or spouses, if you just are also honest and being like, I'm empty too, but we're in this together. Let's figure it out. We'll make a plan. Bare minimum. Don't push ourselves. Let's just figure it out. And also have patience for each other. But communication is really, really important. So honesty, communication, they will really save the day in pretty much every marital situation, but especially when you're super, super emotionally drained and you need to be restored. You need some recovery time. So those are my tips for you guys when you're super drained, and also a little tip about facing your fears and facing your own self, not being afraid to look within and figure out who you are and why you feel that way, and just to remember who you are. The first time, by the way, I wanted to share this, the first time that you ever are introspective with yourself, it might be scary. You might think, I don't like myself. You might think, I don't want to be with myself. I don't like who I am. But honestly, you are an awesome person. I know you are, because God has created you. And so you have value just for who you are. If there are things that you don't like about yourself, then face those things and change them and figure it out. But there is something to like about you. You are an amazing person, and you are created for a purpose and with a reason. And it's exciting to get to know yourself. You, not just me. I'm not saying that about me. I'm saying that really about you, the listener. Really think about who you are and what you have that nobody else has. Get to know yourself and be a friend to yourself. It's really important. And spend that time with God. Talk to him and be honest. He totally accepts you as you are right now, and he knows everything about you anyway. You have nothing to hide. So don't be afraid to face that emptiness, because he's there in the middle of that emptiness, in the middle of that silence. He's still there. All right, so I hope those tips helped you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any tips, or if you've used any tips and found some success in the scenarios that we've talked about today. All right, thanks guys.